I'm Clarke Speaks, the catastrophic injury lawyer. Welcome to The Verdict. Under those circumstances where, so let's, back to our example, we have $3 million in medical bills. We have lost wages of $500,000. We have future medical care and other costs that we might have to go. So let's say all those things add up and then we have a clear liability and we resolve this claim for $10 million, right? And so it goes on a billboard, $10 million, because it's true. This is what we recovered. And people need to know that because they know, okay, this firm is capable of helping me even if I've got a very, very serious accident. But let's look at what happens to that money. So some money's got to go back to that law firm. So whatever that agreed on fee was, and those are pretty standard in the industry. So that goes back, and that law firm's probably had that case for 3-4 years or whatever, and has probably employed, for example, we have 50-something employees, so we got multiple lawyers that are working on every single one of these cases, these catastrophic cases over a long period of time. We've had to hire experts, including accident reconstructionists, medical experts, engineer, maybe a economist, maybe a biomechanical engineer to sort of say how the body reacted under these different circumstances. We have probably put together victim impact videos using professional videographers. We have probably maybe done a video recreating the accident that would be. So these are things that are expensive. So we might have, in a case like that, we might have $200,000 or $300,000 in a cost that we've got tied up in this case. And then so that has to come out of the proceeds. So right, you got $10 million. Attorney's fees are going to come out. Costs are going to come out. You know what else is going to come out? Medical bills. The past and future medical bills are going to come out because we got to go pay. And also when I'm talking to a jury, I can't say anything about the cost of having this expert or that expert or whatever. I can't say anything about the attorney's fees that are going to come off of the proceeds. There's no vehicle. In some cases, there's a legal vehicle for, in some claims in court, unfair and deceptive trade practice, for example, there's a mechanism for me to say, or for a lawyer to say, hey, pay this person the damages for what they lost, and then also award attorney's fees so they shouldn't have to pay their own freight for getting here. They shouldn't have to pay they didn't cause this. Why should they have to pay for their attorney's fees to get to here? That's not in personal injury. Personal injury, the attorney's fees, no fee unless we recover. And what all that means is that they're going to get a recovery. We're going to get a percentage of whatever is recovered. And the reason is because we don't always win, and we don't always, and the reason is because some of our cases are smaller in all this. And so, and people don't have the money to pay on the front end. They don't, if they've been injured, they're out of work, they have medical bills and medical expenses. They can't just pay somebody by the hour to do the work that needs to be done. So under those circumstances, that's why the contingent fee arrangement works best, and that's the standard in the industry, and it makes sense. But it's not something I can say to a jury or present to a jury to include. So that's got to come off the proceeds. So at the end, a person is left with a certain amount of money. And so if it's $10 million as the award, the person might come out with $5 million, right? Okay, well, now we've got $5 million. So do we go to Bermuda then? Do we go get, cars and jet skis and all this kind of stuff? No, remember, part of that money is for future medical treatment. Part of that money is for future lost wages. This is a person who can't work anymore. Part of that money is for people that are going to have. So it has a very, very specific purpose. This is, if you're going to have to put this in the bank and it's already been discounted for present value. So you're going to have to put it in a bank. You're going to have to put it in a bank that will earn some kind of interest and protect it. You're going to have to use that money every month to pay your mortgage, your car payment, your light bill, your phone bill. You're going to have to use that money for groceries. Use that money for medical care, going to the doctor,
What about childcare?
So childcare is not going to be compensable. It's not going to be something that I can recover, but it's still going to be expense. That's what I would have used if I had been able to keep working, or if my client had been able to keep working. They would have taken some of their income and paid it on childcare. Now they can't work. They can't get that money, but we've already included that. So that's another thing where they've got to take that money from the proceeds and pay for their childcare. pay for Little League dues, pay for dance lessons, pay for school, for books for school, pay for college, pay for whatever they were going to pay for their income. Now they got to pay for it, out of their pocket. And also, people a lot of times, if they may be, making this much money when they're uh, 30, 40, 50, and then at some point in time they make more money. They get a different job, or they get a different. None of that comes into this equation, because that's speculation. If my economist says, well, this person could have gotten 5 promotions and been the head of the company, that's all speculation. So there's no way for us to be able to do that. Now, if there's a basis, in other words, if a person was up for a promotion, or if there's evidence in the work history that would suggest that their track was like this instead of like this, then sure, yeah, I can introduce that into evidence, and maybe that'll impact the value. But a lot of times, that's just going to be a speculative type of situation. So a person is going to be, the economist is going to have to use very modest increases in money over time, and so these are things that are going to be. But you can see, I hope you can see, that no part of this is like, you scratch off a lottery ticket, boom, we win, yay. That's not what's going on. There is a and so what I saw in this post the other day was, I saw regular, normal, everyday people that are commenting on the idea that, these people are greedy and they're trying to get a ton of money and everybody thinks that sitting around their breakfast table or their dinner table or whatever. People are greedy, and I get it. They see our billboards and commercials and stuff, and this article did make me think about that. But if you sort of look at it the way that we've described, I'm hoping what you can see is that's not what's going on at all. They are not. This is not like winning the lottery, and it's always these same type of people, just ordinary people who are like, they come in after an injury like this, and they're like, wow, it's different than they expected. It's different when they're in this position. It's different when it's them that has been affected, and it's them that, just imagine for a minute. And this happens a lot. I'll never forget, 10 years ago, probably, a lady calls me, and she's been in an accident. It was nighttime. She was parked on, how the streets will have like 2 lanes and then parking spaces on the sides. She was in a parking space on the side. She's getting her luggage out to go see her friend, or her aunt. I think she's staying with her aunt for the weekend or whatever. She's getting her luggage out, and somebody's coming down the lane, not paying attention to what they're doing, drinking, and they go off the side of into the parking lane, and they smash right into the back of her car. Now she's standing there getting her suitcases out, so it takes her legs off at the knees. Her recovery process was, as you can imagine, very, very difficult, painful, long, and she was permanently disabled as a result. Lost her legs, has to have prosthetic limbs. But if you just think about it from that perspective, that's not somebody you trade places with. I mean, the pain that somebody like that somebody under those circumstances goes through is, and I talk to them about this, right? Part of my job is to ask them, and because I want to be able to tell their story. And the pain from something like that is so overwhelming that it affects you emotionally. You know what I mean? It affects you not just physically or physiologically, but emotionally. It hurts your feelings, is what is my perception of what. I haven't experienced it, but that's what the way that I look at it. And the idea, so then think about it. You don't go to the hospital and come back Monday. You're going to be in the hospital for months, as they stabilize you, as they operate, because they got to remove the unhealthy stuff, keep the healthy body parts. Then you have to recover from those operations. You may have to have multiple operations, and then you're going to have some rehabilitative therapy. You're going to have to be fitted with prosthetics. You're going to have to use those prosthetic limbs, and then you're going to have to go back home and recover. Now you've got, are you going to be able to work? What did you do before? Okay, let's say you were a landscaper, a painter. You were electrician, you were a school teacher, you were an accountant. Like how are you some jobs you can't work anymore, some jobs you can work anymore. What about the mental health impact that this has on you? You know? Meanwhile, you're not getting any. I don't care if you do get $10 million 3 years from now. From now until then, you're not getting a dollar. Not for medical care, not for lost wages, not for your rent, not for your car payment, your house payment, your phone bill, nothing. You're not getting not 1 cent, because if the insurance company pays you, they're going to pay you one time. That's it. So, I mean, this is another reason why it's important for us to put this information on billboards, is to say we deal with big claims so we can help you through that process. But it's not to say that, hey, you just won the lottery, let's go pick out a Ferrari. That's not what that's supposed to be, So I don't want people to get that impression. And I don't want people to walk away from these things feeling that way. And it disturbed me when I saw this post, because I felt like normal, good people who, if they knew the whole story, would feel differently, and they would feel like, hey, I understand why this person is getting all this money, because it's really not this person that's getting all this money. It's really a series of other people who are getting all this money in order for this person to have the same kind of life they would have otherwise had. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us to stay up to date with our weekly episodes. We'll see you next time.